It's been a rough year for rock and roll, from Rick Derringer, the Prince of Darkness, and then one I really didn't see coming, Ace Frehley. Now on my show, I don't really like talking about celebrity deaths because, clickbait, I want to make money off of this situation. I have a feeling there's going to be a lot of nostalgic people who, if they don't already have an Ace-style guitar, they might now be interested in picking one up to pay tribute to him. So let's use this episode as a way to get that on a budget, as well as infinite money. What are his most iconic Les Pauls? Well, it's gotta be this guy here, right? This is a circa 1973-ish Deluxe that he had routed out for humbuckers, in which he also had a star put on here. So hey, if you just wanted to be super cheap and easy, you could just get a sticker and put it right there. But perhaps this guitar's most iconic look is when he swapped in the double cream DiMarzios. So if you wanted something super authentic, I would suggest going to Reverb or eBay and looking for a 73 Les Paul Deluxe. These are not rare guitars by any means, and sometimes you can actually find a deal. Like, look over here. It's a Husk for $2,000. You don't have to feel bad routing this one out for humbuckers, and then you've got almost exactly what he had, because remember, he refinished that guitar multiple times, and then it ended up meeting an interesting fate even further on down the road. So don't necessarily worry about the color if you've got the refinishing skills. I personally would not suggest buying an already complete Deluxe that has not been modified in some other way to doing the modifications, but hey, you do you. Just remember, if you ever have to sell it in the future, you're gonna kick yourself that you didn't go the already project route. And please remember, it does not have to be a 73. Any Les Paul Deluxe from 71 till about 1975, just make sure it still has the mahogany neck, will have pretty much identical specs. If you don't want to go the vintage route, there's actually a brand new model currently that is very similarly spec'd to this. This is known as the Gibson Les Paul Double Trouble. And I would say this Tobacco Sunburst version is very close to what you're looking for. If anything, it might be a little bit too fancy. Like, it's got the general look, and it's readily available for $2,800 or less anywhere. And you've got colors to choose from, because there was a point in time when he had a Cherry Sunburst standard kind of similar to that as well. It was outfitted with slightly different humbuckers, but you can get your Ace on that way too. If you don't quite have the budget for a standard, but you want it to be 70s, you might look for a GK55. If you can find one, this model actually left the Gibson factory back in the 70s with the stock Dirty Fingers pickups that are double cream. Now that's going to be different from his model, but this also has an interesting coil splitter switch built in one of the knobs. I wouldn't call them the best Gibson Les Paul ever made. If anything, they're more so akin to like a Les Paul Special, because they don't actually have the maple top, but I think it looks pretty cool and very similar, and generally speaking, they're about $1,500-ish. Another stock Gibson model you could consider from the 70s is the Les Paul KM. By the time you're considering one of these at how much people are asking nowadays, you're probably better off going the Deluxe route, but not everybody wants a modified instrument. So this will give you a very similar look. However, remember, this is going to have a maple neck instead of mahogany, but you will have the sweet double cream T-top pickups and the matching cream plastics. And hey, if you've already got the Les Paul, you could always just put the pickups in too. It doesn't have to break the bank. You're going to want a Super Distortion DP100 and the DP103 PAF in the neck position if you're wanting to match his mid-70s tones. You can buy them brand new for $200, or sometimes you can get a deal on them used. If you're really patient, you might even be able to find a vintage original 70s set, and then you can add your speed knobs or move your pick guard and put a Deluxe truss rod cover on it just for fun. But the official specs of that guitar is going to be a 3-piece mahogany neck with a rosewood fretboard, 3-piece maple top, pancake constructed mahogany body with no weight relief. Or perhaps you prefer how that guitar ended up at the end of its days, the double cutaway conversion. So now it's complete black, and we've got a swept heel with our volute going on. It would be quite a considerable project in order to create a one-for-one replica of this, but here's my best suggestions. In 2016, Gibson did make a semi-symmetrical cut like that. It's not exact, but this is going to be a lot cheaper than having somebody do it for you. Then you can rock whatever pickups you want. But my ultimate suggestion to you would actually be this goofy thing. This is known as the All-American 2, produced around 1997. It has the symmetrical Les Paul shaped double cut to it, and you could technically route that for humbuckers if you really wanted to. Just remember, it's got 24 frets, so the spacing's going to be a little bit weird. It has a Strat trem on it. It's not uncommon for people to make projects out of these. Like, look at that. Somebody added binding to that one. And what's great is these things are readily available anywhere between, $600 and $1,200 depending on condition. Like this thing right here, screaming to be modified. Because it's already in really bad shape. You would not have to feel bad making this thing into an Ace tribute at all. And oh my goodness, look what I found. There was more than one double cutaway model that looked normal, advertised as a 2011 classic double cutaway. That is almost perfect for what you guys need. Just swap out the pickups, and yeah, the controls aren't exactly the same. At least it still has the mother of pearl Gibson logo. But another slightly harder to find model that you might like because it comes out of the 80s would be the Gibson XPL 400. It's got the cutaways. Now, don't mind the HSS setup on this one. You can find it with dual humbuckers as well. So we've got our control layout closer. Double cutaways looking good. You'd have to live with the Explorer headstock at that point, but it's an idea. In fact, hey look, somebody's already done it. We're starting to get a little bit too far from the core truth, but you might also consider a 1980s Gibson Spirit. You can find them in the ebony finish, and they did indeed come stock with the double cream pickups. Finding a double humbucker one of those is not very common. And most times when you do, it's the Sunburst finish. If you're rich enough, you could probably just buy the original. This was sold for only $75,000 about 4 years ago. But perhaps you're more familiar with this Les Paul. It's an early 70s Les Paul custom. His #1 guitar for quite some time, also outfitted with triple DiMarzios. Arguably his most iconic piece. You got a lot of options here. You could go to Reverb and find an original. Great news for you, Cherry Sunburst is one of the least desirable colors on these, next to wine red, so you don't have to worry about paying the Randy Rhoads 10K plus tax for like the white. I mean, this one's listed at Chicago Music Exchange for $6,000. That's a little on the high side. I would suggest making an offer. However, you're not the first guy to ever have that idea. There are pre-modded ones, like right now. Casey has this one over in North Carolina. It's already been modified for you. You don't have to devalue yours by routing it out for that third humbucker. He's even got the correct look and style tuners on here. In fact, I think this is just a fantastic little bargain if you want this exact guitar today. But before I confirm that, I should probably check, is there a headstock repair? Oh, yep. At least it's a good one, though. It's one of the spline jobs. Trust me, make an offer on some of these other Cherry Sunburst ones. Or again, don't be scared to refinish. Something like this that's already in beaten player's grade condition anyways. What's nice about these is you can leave the headstock lacquer alone during the refinish process to still have that aged look, at least to the top. And any holes, scratches, man, they're just all repaired. The problem is the good ones sell fast. But if you don't have to have an original, there are tons of collectible runs of this guitar. I'd like to shout out Frehley If you want to learn more in-depth detailed information than we're talking about today, that is a fantastic resource to see it all in a nice article format. But hey, do you guys remember this guy? TC Harrison. Nope, we're not talking about the Snake Pit this time. We're talking about the original run of Ace Frehley signatures. He was a helper to Bruce Kunkel's Snake Pit, and he is the mastermind of prototyping these original ones out. You can learn more about the story on the website. It can get very confusing. It's the #1. Because you gotta remember, back in 96, 97, when they first started to make these, the custom shop was a brand new thing. That just started in late 1993, so this is just a few years later when they start to make signature versions of the Les Paul guitar for other people. And they had a custom shop version, which is now known today as the 300, because they set out to make 300. And then there was a regular production one, which is not as valuable. The original 300, these are collector's items. Recently, before the news, these were around anywhere between $8,000 to $12,000. So if you want the most collectible version of the guitar, this is what you go for. And the easiest way to identify it is you get real mother of pearl on the headstock, and on the back it reads Ace and then has a number out of 300 and it says custom shop. Because if you just go to an online platform and type in 1997 Ace Les Paul and see, okay, Bernie 98 personal, can't afford that. Oh my goodness, only 9,000, or oh my goodness, only 5,000, and it's a 90s one. It might look the same to your average guy. However, be very, 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 very careful. There are so many fakes of these things out there. But what you really want to look for here is the backside of the headstock. If it doesn't have the ink stamped, this is just regular Gibson USA production. They cut a few corners, like you don't actually get the true mother of pearl on the headstock, if I understand it correctly. But my goodness, this thing over in Japan has been played like crazy. They did not leave the factory aged like this. That thing's kind of cool. But what I'm trying to say here is the value of this run is significantly less than the 300. The next one you might then consider, sticking within order, is they made an Epiphone run around the same time, just slightly after those. It looks pretty good for the first time actually looking at one of these. We get the cool lightning bolt inlays. The Ace Frehley inlay for our 12th fret is within a block inlay this time, so that's a little bit different, but still pretty nice. Interesting looking headstock there in the old style Epiphone logo. At the prices some of these guys are asking, I think you're better off just buying a vintage Deluxe. And yes, you could go to eBay and buy one of the knockoffs for about 300 bucks. As long as you know it's a knockoff, it's a moral gray area, but they're there if you want them. But then they reissued these around 2011. This is known as the Budokan run. That's commonly what this guitar is referred to, and that is named after a stage in Japan where he used this. Now this one, it's got the 3-piece top, it's got the refretting, it's got the pickups, it's got the look, the wear, tear, and aging. That is more your style, and you like the whole modern Gibson collectability. That's who this particular one is for, whereas the original 300 is like, hey, this is the start of, Gibson custom shop, all that great stuff we were talking about. Oh man, here I am making a fool out of myself. His original one actually does have the headstock repair, so you Ace Frehley guys, you might actually not worry about the repairs on those other ones. You might even appreciate that. I believe these are more accurate as far as the specs go, like Made in USA stamp. I would imagine that's a 3-piece mahogany neck. I can't really tell from these particular photos, but they are marked Ace Frehley in another format. If you're not into the aging, there was also a VOS run done, as well as another Gibson USA run done around that same time. So this won't have custom shop specs or any of the nitty-gritty details as far as, 2-piece maple top again, regular mahogany neck, but it could get you close. But actually before that, in 2007, there was a cheeky reissue as part of the Guitar of the Week series, where you have a very similarly spec'd Budokan Les Paul here, and instead of custom block inlays, it's trapezoids this time. I would not suggest seeking one of these out to get your ace on, because it's kind of a rare and hard to find model. It's going to be just as expensive as some of those other most times. Unless you can find it for a deal. I still regret selling mine because I picked it up for $2,000. Let's say you're not into cherry Sunburst or tobacco Sunburst Deluxes that have been modified. He's also well known for this absolutely gorgeous 59 Burst. It's usually touted as one of the nicest looking, playing, and sounding examples, but unfortunately, it's not something he had in his possession forever. You could find a similar looking 1959 reissue to also get your ace on without having to modify anything here. There was an official reissuing of this that had his name attached to it as well, if you want to go the Gibson official route. So there you go, a couple of options if you want to get your Ace Frehley on. That is my tribute to the man, in a way that I feel adds to the conversation. I know Ace means so much to a lot of Les Paul guys out there. So rest in peace, Spaceman, and we'll catch you guys tomorrow on the next one. Take care.